Alrighty, so I'm here with my friend Sarah, and Sarah and I are going to have a reading conference. And Sarah, so what book are you reading?
So I'm currently reading A Mango-Shaped Space by Wendy Mass.
Ooh, exciting.
Yes.
So, that title, that's kind of a weird title, Mango-Shaped Space. Why is it named that?
Okay, so first of all, I understand what you're thinking. A mango in the shape of a cat doesn't really make sense.
Kind of awkward.
But
yeah.
the main character, Mia, in this book has this learning disability or disadvantage called synesthesia. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Okay.
Anyways, every letter and number is associated with a color. And not just like one is associated with pink. Like it's associated with the warm yellow of a sunrise.
So very
like
specific.
It's very specific.
Oh.
Yeah. So her cat, which she believes embodies half of her soul of her dead grandfather, the other half is up, with her grandmother, but the other half she feels like stayed down with her and this cat that she found the day of his funeral, and she named him Mango.
Okay.
So every time she sees the cat Mango, like the color mango
pops up. Okay, that explains it. So, what is this? I know you talked about the grandfather and the cat and how it has the soul of the grandfather, but what's Mia's story so far?
Okay, so Mia's story, she had a really traumatic experience happen to her in 3rd grade, where the teacher basically blew off what she said at the chalkboard about math not making sense because the numbers didn't correlate with the colors.
Okay.
Teacher completely humiliated her and really shut down her self-esteem. So Mia thought she had to hide that part of herself. So it's 8th grade. Fast forward to 8th grade, and she has been hiding it all this time from her parents and her teachers, and she's been struggling in math until finally her mom's like, you can't fail math, and she just explodes and says, I still see colors. So her mom thinks there's something wrong with her. They're trying to diagnose her disease. Like, does she have a brain tumor? What's going on? Until finally they find this professor at the university who's like, there's nothing wrong with you. You just have, it's not over imagination. You have synesthesia. And she finds a community group. She gets her first kiss from a boy in that community. Oh. Super cute. The story does take a tragic downfall, which you should read the book if you want to know about it. But yeah.
So I know you talked about her keeping in that secret. That's a long time from 3rd grade to middle school. That's a really long time to keep it in. So have you ever experienced something similar where you kept something inside and then it just exploded out, just like?
I never had something quite as extreme, just explode out of me, but I do know that sometimes I'm trying to be an easygoing person and just let things come roll off my back. But if people keep doing the same thing to me, for example, in high school, I was on the varsity cheer team, and I would make up all the dances for our cheer coach, for our varsity cheerleading thing. What's her name? Head cheerleader, whatever. Yeah. Anyways, I would make up the dances. We would do it together, but she would take all the credit. So finally, on senior night, when I had created the co-ed dance, I finally was had them put my subtitle name underneath it.
Right. So make sure you get credit for your work. Yeah. Okay. So, based off of what you've read so far, how would you rate this book on a scale of 1 to 10?
For fun reading, I would rate it as a 7, but for educational reading, especially in maybe my future classroom, I feel like you can learn a lot from it, and I would rate it a 9.5 because it's very engaging. It's just not a higher level thing. The word, there's not big vocabulary within it besides the actual diagnostics of the synesthesia. But if you're trying to get a meaning or a theme across to a group of students, I think it's a great book.
Okay,
yeah.
So then, that being said, would you say that, what's a lesson that, as a future educator, something you could learn from the teacher?
I think I really embodied from this book the idea that students don't just say things. Students do sometimes say things just to say things, but you need to take everything with a grain of salt. So you really need to pay attention. If a student comes to you and says, Miss, I'm struggling with this because I don't understand why X plus Y equals B when I think that AX plus XY equals C. You really need to be okay, well, let's sit down and let's go through your thought process. And it might not always be as extreme as this, but maybe it's just one little thing that you didn't explain that he needs redone.
Right, so just kind of being intentional of when people say things and listening, even if it sounds crazy, right?
Yeah, so, I think teachers really need to listen instead of just because sometimes we'll hear things, it'll go in one ear, out the other, and then later down the road, it's really inhibited their learning.
It's a huge issue. So kind of just listening is important.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so I'm interested in this book. I'm reading it myself, so I'm going to catch up and see where you are. But thank you so much for having this reading conference with me, and you guys should read A Mango-Shaped Space. Pretty awesome. Okay.